best way to see it, because I mean, what does this do for you? This really doesn't show you anything at all. Okay. Hi, welcome back. My name's Bethany. I'm the girl behind Well Love Knits, and today we are going to do another one of those chatty knitting podcast type videos. I'm in a different place. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of the pictures and the videos that I've been taking have been in this spot. This couch may look very familiar to you, and the reason for that is that I recently got a new couch and I replaced one that was old, was ripping apart, was just gross. I was just so happy to see it gone, so now I'm like obsessed with this couch and I always have to sit here and I have to like knit in this spot. This is my new perfect knitting spot, nice and bright and cozy, and yeah, so that's why I'm trying out a new location instead of my office. Instead, I wanted to sit on the couch, so that's just something new in my personal life that has been happening, getting a new couch. I guess that's 27 for you. In Belgium today, it's been raining on and off, so I'm happy that it looks like we're starting to get a little bit of sun. I hope that doesn't affect the camera too much, but I have a lot of things to share with you today and I'm really excited to do so. So if you haven't already, grab some tea. Mine's still steeping a little bit and it's way too hot. I'm actually somebody who loves to drink tea when it's basically room temperature, so I'm gonna leave that there for a little bit. But yeah. So, yeah, like I said, I have a lot of things to show you today, and one of which I'll start out with is one that I've been working on for a very long time. I want to say this is my 1-year anniversary of working on this top, and it's finished now. It is the Cumulus blouse by Petite Knit. Cumulus tee, rather, because it's short sleeves. Okay, it's not 100% finished because I still have my ends to weave in, and yeah, there's some loose string all over the place, but all the I-cord is done, the sleeves are done, the bottom might not be done, but it's done for now. And yeah, so it's a very casual, like, knit t-shirt that's been on my needles since last summer. So you've seen this one quite a few times if you've watched my other knitting podcast type videos or my works in progress update videos, and basically it's because it's such a small knit that I have been working so slowly on it. And I will say that this year I've definitely got more into knitting with smaller needles than I have been in the past. Like, usually I'm a chunky knit girl, but I think I have so many chunky knits in my wardrobe that now I'm starting to go a little more towards the side of smaller needles, but then that's also probably just because of the weather. But even last summer I was knitting a bunch of sweaters, and this year I'm actually knitting more seasonally, which is interesting. So I know I've mentioned this a couple of times, but I'm just, because it's finished, I have to do it all over again. This is knit using Purl Soho's cattail silk. It is a more textured type of yarn, and it has some variation of color within it. So it's probably picking up very black on camera, but it's actually like a charcoaly color, and then it has like some confetti sprinkled throughout, which is really interesting. And do I think this knit was hard? No. I think that it's a very easy knit. It's just time consuming. It's one of those knits that you have to be really motivated for, I think. Maybe not. I don't know. I think that I was just procrastinating at the end of it, so it really shouldn't have taken me as long as it really did. But I am happy with the result. I'm very curious though about this textured fabric. I don't know if, while I think the yarn is really cool, I don't know if it's necessarily like the right yarn for this, this piece. I'll be very interested to block it to see if that will soften up anything, and yeah. Some notes though, because I will have to go back. even though it's done for now because I think I will have to do a couple of adjustments. So when I originally started, and I was originally working on this piece, that was a year ago, so I was a completely different knitter, I want to say. Back then, I didn't know as much as I think I do today. But like, so I started and worked the entire body. And I didn't take the time to actually knit the I-cord bind off for the body, so I actually just cast off as normal, which is why it's creating this like little rolled effect at the edges. Do I think it's bad right now? No, I've tried it on and I actually think it looks okay. I'd be interested to see how it goes after I block it, to see if that changes anything, and if it does, hopefully for the better. Yeah, so I didn't have the patience to learn a new skill in terms of I-cord, so I just cast off as normal, so I will probably go back and do that once I've had some time to decompress from this project. Also, because I did pick up this year this piece again and start knitting the sleeves, I did a difference in the I-cord bind off for each sleeve. On this side, this is the first sleeve that I did the I-cord bind off with 3 stitches. So you would knit 2 stitches and then knit 2 together, and then slide the stitches and do it in 3. Whereas on the other side, and for the neck also, I did 2 stitches, which made it a little less bulky. I am experiencing a little bit of rolling on this sleeve, but again, I want to see if blocking will change that, because it turned out really nicely on the neck. So like there's no bulk at all, and that's why I switched it, because I was worried that, especially on the neck, the bulkiness would be very visible. So, but then when I'm looking at it, if I try it on the sleeves, you can barely really tell. So I'm not really sure I'm gonna go back and do this one again. We'll just see how motivated I am. But I definitely will eventually go back and do it right on the edges. Although it's, you know, it could just be the style of the shirt. This is pretty casual of a shirt. I'm happy with how it turned out. Just need to weave in those ends, give it a bath, and it'll really be done. So, I mean, definitely been making a priority recently to dig through my UFOs and finish those up. I'm trying to think, did I have any other UFOs that I still needed to do? I don't think so. I think that was the last UFO. I hope. Maybe my tea is ready. It's still too hot. So the second finished object that I have is something that you saw last week, and it is my halter top. It's still a little damp because I did actually go back and block it. So let me tie it up. Well, I don't know. How's the best way to see it? Because I mean, what does this do for you? This really doesn't show you anything at all. And if you haven't already, go check out that video where I just, talk through exactly what I did here. This was a very freestyle top. I just had the idea to just knit a halter top, and I just saw what I could. I just was taking a guess and seeing what I could do. I really didn't have a plan going into making this top. I was thinking like I would just kind of put it up against my body and every once in a while like do a little check to see if I'm on the right track. I started by casting on 2 stitches. I cast on 2 stitches and made an immediate increase into that stitch, and then kind of continued increasing a little bit to make that little triangle that you see on each strap. And I worked it like an I-cord, so actually if you look at the other side of the strap, it's kind of like joining together in this center. And that's because I was slipping my stitches over and knitting as if you would an I-cord, which kind of, it makes the fabric really squishy and kind of just, makes it feel thicker, more reinforced, which is what I was really interested in having. Like, I didn't want the edges to curl too much on the straps for the top. I wanted them to kind of just like lay flat. And I think it's doing that for the most part. Yeah, it definitely is for these straps. I didn't do it on the back because I didn't leave too much of a tail, you could say, in the back. But I'll insert some pictures of me wearing it from last week's video. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I don't knit with cotton very often, so yeah, it was a nice treat. It felt really different for me. But yeah, like I said, continually just like trying it on next to me, and then once I had both of the straps on, I would put it around my head and kind of like pull the fabric around to kind of see how I was doing in that area. And then what I also mentioned in last week's video was about the shaping around the bottom of the cup of each side of the halter top. And there are like gathers, you could say, in the center of each cup. And I don't know if it really worked out all that well. It wasn't, again, it was just something that I was kind of testing to see if it would work. I think it looks really good when the garment's lying flat. It gives it more interest as a flat lay than it does actually doing really anything for the top itself on the body. So keep that in mind. I think those are definitely optional. But the entire pattern is available in written format in the description of last week's video, so if you're interested in knitting up a quick summer top. It took me about a week, but that's, you know, also because I have a day job and I don't knit constantly throughout the day, so I'm sure I could have done it a lot faster, but, you know, when I'm only allowed to knit and film in certain parts of the week, yeah, it will take a while, so yeah, not much more to say about that except for that this yarn I talked about in my last knitting podcast video, where I was saying I was going to do like a mixed media market bag, and yeah, I did knit a swatch for that though. So I knit a swatch for the idea that I had with the white and the black yarn knit together, because I wanted to do some sort of like a market bag with that. And I like the way that it looks. I do. It's just that the fabric of two cotton strands of this weight knit together, it just really didn't feel like I was hoping it was gonna feel. And it definitely didn't really drape the way I wanted it to. So I'll have to use the white cotton for something else, and I'm sure I can find something. I only have 2 skeins of that though, so it'll have to be something pretty small, I think. Also, just a note on that, like sometimes every time I buy something, I'm always trying to buy it with a project in mind, so I don't normally, unless I can see what it could potentially become. It's very rare that I actually purchase yarn without having a project in mind. There is one exception to something that I'll show you later, but that is really an exception, because most of the time I buy more than one skein, and it's specifically for a project. However, I've been very aware of sometimes if I like put off a project, I won't use the yarn. So since I had an idea to use this yarn, I like kind of seized the moment and then just kind of took off with that idea, because in the end, like if you really wanted to do that project, you could always just buy more yarn, but I think it is really important just to use what we already have in the stash. So, you know, instead of purchasing yarn that was going to be a different color or something for this halter top, instead of doing that, I just used what I had on hand, and I think I'm personally just really happy with that outcome versus, yeah, having to purchase, wait for the right color, wait for shipping and everything like that. And then maybe I wouldn't even be that interested in knitting a halter top after all of that's said and done. So I think with having a stash, using that stash, I think is really important. And that's just something that I've kind of gotten a lot of joy out of as well. I get the joy out of seeing something kind of get decluttered from my stash too, which is a new thing, I think. But very happy with this halter top. I think it's definitely an easy project, a quick project, and you only need 2.5 skeins for it. So if you have 2.5 skeins and you want a halter top, go check out that video. So yeah, both of those were black, I just realized. And, you know, perfect wardrobe staples. So those were my main two finished objects that I've done recently. Oh, I was racking my brain actually I knew I had another finished object, but I could not figure out what it was. I kept forgetting, and I realize now because it's not necessarily a knitting project, so that's probably why I wasn't thinking about it for this to share, but yeah, this is my knitting project bag. I just wanted to share this as well because I recently made this bag from scratch using the Allwell bucket bag pattern by the Allwell workshop. And I'm really happy with how this bag turned out. I think it's not just a knitting project bag for me, it's really just like an all types of bag. I'll take it anywhere, honestly. It has so much room, it fits everything that I could possibly ever need. And I think it looks really nice too, matches a lot of the things that I own. Which is really great. But just briefly on this bag, I think it's really great for all kinds of knitting projects, like knitting on the go, because there's a lot of different pockets here. If I can undo this. Yeah, you can kind of see it, I think. But yeah, there's pockets right here on each side. I made sure to add plenty just because I knew that since I wanted this for a knitting bag, I wanted to be sure that I could handle anything that I would possibly need in this bag. And I think I honestly, it was a good thing. I think the instructions were very easy. I know I mentioned this in the video I made about this bag, but instructions were very easy. The only thing that challenged me was the grommets, I think, as well as just the sheer amount of layers that I put, but that's all on me, you know, like that was my personal customization. I made sure that there were a lot of pockets, but that also came at a price. So, but, you know, I really recommend this for beginners because I still consider myself a bit of a beginner sewer. And yeah, go check out that video also if you're interested in seeing more about this bag. But yes, I would definitely encourage you, if you're interested in sewing, to give it a try. Because this is definitely practical for your making journey with knitting too, if it's something you want to try out. And finally, one other finished object would be this top right here. In comparison, I did a post on Instagram recently just talking about the two. This took me a day. This took me a week. So sewing, sometimes I would really recommend sewing as a hobby, especially if you're very like goal-oriented, like a maker who's very goal-oriented like me, because I really love to have progress and I love to feel like I'm getting a lot of stuff done. And I think sewing definitely helps me in that area. So yeah, this is just a shirt top. Never made a shirt top before. It's very easy. You just need some elastic thread and patience. And that's it. So those are all of the finished objects that I have, and now we'll go back into the works in progress. So I think I'm gonna start with one that you haven't seen before, instead of one that I keep showing, but this one right here. The works in progress that I have, except for one, they don't really look like much, so they're still in early stages. It's this piece of fabric. So I am in the early stages of a V-neck sweater that I am making with this very, very beautiful yarn. If anything, showing you this is really just to show you the yarn, because look at that. It is so gorgeous. It is such a cool yarn. I've never seen anything like it. Although I have seen it before. The reason that I purchased this yarn is because of Petite Knit, because originally I wanted to make her terrazzo sweater, and this is the exact yarn that she uses in that pattern. Really beautiful. It's just like so unique because all of the different, like every couple of centimeters is a new color. So it really works up to be kind of just like this explosion of color, which is just really cool. And Normally I don't work with this kind of yarn. I feel like while I really like the way that really like variegated, like a lot of variation in yarn, like the colors, I just don't know what to knit with them, and I don't know how it's going to turn out. And I think that's always been such a hurdle for me with indie dyers, because you see these skeins that are just so beautiful, but you just don't know how it's going to look in a finished fabric. And I think that's always the struggle for me. So like, this yarn in particular, this is called Noro sock yarn. What am I doing? This is Noro sock yarn, and I actually brought one of the skeins. It's this right here. It's apparently very sought after because I got quite a few DMs about how I found this yarn. Noro, the World of Nature, made in Japan. I mean, I love the label. The label is just so cool. And the skein itself, it's just so playful and so, yeah, just like all these pastel, like fun colors. But then it's also got quite a few neutral colors like worked in there as well. Which is just really nice. I really love this, this yarn. So I have 4 skeins in total, one of which I caked up recently. I feel like this doesn't look as beautiful as this does. But the colors are still there anyway. But this is a swatch that I actually made a long time ago when I first bought the yarn. So I've been sitting on this yarn for a long time. So another reason why I think I've been so enthusiastic about getting old yarn out of my stash, got new yarn coming in, so really important to prioritize those projects where I want to use older yarn, older to me yarn. So this is actually a swatch that I made last year when I first got the yarn. So I got it during the pandemic, I want to say like in May, so over a year ago, and I made up this swatch because I was going to knit the terrazzo sweater by Petite Knit. Yeah, I think the reason that I didn't actually go forward with knitting the terrazzo sweater is that I have so many turtlenecks in my making portfolio, I guess you could say. I think by the time I was gonna get ready to start working on this, I had just finished the caramel sweater by Petite Knit, which is a very big turtleneck sweater. And I had finished one by My Favorite Things Knitwear as well, so I had quite a few, and I was thinking, you know, I just don't need a turtleneck sweater at the moment. So I then, again, wasn't really interested in knitting the terrazzo sweater, so I didn't really want to waste this yarn. So another thing about this is that it's just like almost too pretty to touch. Like, I don't know what to do. Do you know what I mean? Like when you have some yarn that you just think is so beautiful, but you just don't know what to do with it, and you kind of can't make up your mind in like what project is actually going to be suitable for it, so then you just let it sit there. So I really just snapped myself out of that mentality, you know, and I decided, okay, I'm going to cake up one of these skeins and I'm going to knit something with this. So something that I've always wanted to make for myself, and you know, hopefully a pattern as well, is a v-neck sweater. And actually what I want to do with this sweater will become a petite, because obviously I'm knitting it with very thin needles, a petite version of the cozy v-neck sweater that I did a video on not too long ago, and I'll leave a link for that in case you're interested in watching that. But I want to take that design and just make it into something smaller. So that is what I'm working on. I've cast on the back. So what I'm gonna do is, instead of how I knit the cozy v-neck sweater, and I did that by working from the bottom up and then top down. Instead of doing that, I'm gonna start from the back and then pick up stitches for the front and then meet at the center and knit all the way down until the ribbing and so on. So yeah. I'm really excited to see how it's going to turn out. I think it's going to be beautiful because it's really going to be hard not to with this yarn. I think that you can't really go wrong. Whereas at the time I was like, oh, you can really go wrong, but now I'm just thinking that with a basic design, I think this yarn will just look really nice because you don't want something too busy, you know? So I'm very excited to see where it goes. And yeah, so like I said, I have 4 skeins, including this one, so I think it should be okay. I want this to be a little bit oversized, so I'm not sure if that will impact the amount of yarn that I'll need. I'm not 100% sure, because I did purchase this for another project, so there is the risk that I don't have enough yarn for what I'm thinking, but I think it should be okay. And if not, then I'll just shorten the sleeves or something like that, and maybe kind of rely on blocking to really like relax, have a relaxed fit with the sweater. So the last thing that I want to say about this yarn is that normally, like, since it is recommended, for example, in the terrazzo sweater, in that design specifically, it is recommended to knit with 1 strand of mohair and then the Noro yarn. And actually in this swatch, I only knit with the Noro yarn because I didn't at the time have mohair that I thought would work well with it. And after blocking, I actually think that this is pretty soft, so I'm not too concerned that it's gonna be, you know, rough on my skin. So that's actually what I did here. I'm only knitting with the Noro yarn, and I'm happy with that decision because I do think maybe it's just me and maybe it's just the pictures that I've seen, but those mixing with mohair, it almost dulls out the colors of this yarn. So I don't want to really risk that and have like a very neutral like halo around the sweater. I really want to just like let the colors shine and not dull them out too much, and I feel like I've seen that mohair can do that with this yarn, so I am knitting without any mohair, and I think in this way I can be sure that the colors are going to be as vibrant as possible. So that's it for that yarn. The other work in progress that I have is with another thing of yarn that I've been sitting on for a very long time, but I can't really say that my progress is all that huge. I'm trying to do some sort of like a crop top with this, like a semi-tight, I don't know, semi-close to skin type of crop top. This is supposed to be the front. It's curling quite a bit because of the, I don't know, the needles and not being too complete. But here, I'll just hold this one so you can kind of get, I mean, it's the same on both sides, so you kind of get the feeling for it. But what I plan on doing, so this is the front, and I'm working a bit of the front rows before I start working on the back, and then eventually we'll join it together. But basically with this, I am having the idea of just doing like some kind of, I don't know, just some kind of tank top that's pretty close to skin. Again, like very little positive ease to the garment. And what I plan on doing is I'm gonna pick up on the sides and do like a double folded ribbing on each side. And I'll insert, if I can find it, some like inspiration pictures, because I'm really not going off of any sort of pattern here. And I was just thinking that that would work really well for the yarn that I have. So this yarn is by Cowgirl Blues, and it's some yarn that I picked up at my local yarn shop. Again, I want to say about a year, no, even more than a year ago, because this was like 2019. Yeah, 2019 or something like that. Even before, yeah, 2019. So anyway, I have 2 skeins. One of which you saw that I put into the winder and Swift, my new winder and Swift. I eventually put both of them in there, and I'm now working with these cakes. I love knitting with cakes so much. It's so nice to just be able to pull the yarn from the center. It is getting a little tangled right now because I think I had to frog my work a little bit. So yeah, we're getting a little bit tangled, but it keeps things so organized, so much more organized than I have ever been in the past, let me tell you. And I really like this so far. I have to say though, for what the skein looked like in the hank, or what the hank looked like, I'm actually kind of disappointed with the variation of the yarn, the variegation of the yarn. And see, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I've been so hesitant to purchase from like indie dyers, because I just don't know what it's gonna look like. And I mean, it's not bad, but I was thinking that it was gonna be way more striped than this. And I do actually really like how subtle it is, because I think that's more my style than, I don't know, just a bunch of like crazy stripes everywhere. You know, except for this. I mean, this is something else. But yeah, with this, I was more expecting, I don't know, more dark pigments in it. So I'm kind of disappointed, I have to say, with it so far. But you know, I'm knitting it double, so maybe that impacts it in some way. I'm sure it probably does. But I had 2 hanks of it, and I really didn't think I wanted to do like a sweater that was all fingering weight, so knitting with 2 of them together I think is a good way for me to use up this yarn and create something that I'll really like with it. So this is becoming a very structured, it feels very, it's going to be very warm, I think, so during the winter months, personally for like my pajamas and things, I don't like to have long sleeve pajamas or anything like that, so I think this will work really well for me in the colder months as like some sort of like pajama shirt, I think. But yeah. Yeah, not much more to say about it except for that I'm excited to see it grow. I will hopefully be able to finish this soon. I'll make more of a priority on it soon. After I finish my next work in progress, which is almost done. So my last work in progress, yes, my last work in progress is, of course, my Novice cardigan that I'm so close to finishing, you guys. I really am, and I'm trying, okay? It's just I also want to get in some seasonal knitting as well, so I have picked it up again recently. So I finished 1 sleeve, and I think it looks really beautiful, really nice. And we're, I would say, about halfway done to a quarter done of the 2nd sleeve. And then from there, all I need to do is the ribbing on each side of the panels, the front panels, and then find some buttons for this baby. I thought this was going to be a lot quicker of a knit than it actually turned out to be, but that's also just because recently I've been really like gearing up the number of works in progress that I have in comparison to like how I used to knit before. I think before I used to just really focus on like one project at a time, and I think it's really good too, but I've been craving a lot more like variation, and also because I want to share some content with you guys, I've let some projects get in, not in the way, but give priority to some other projects that I think might be quicker in the short term versus these longer term projects. So I have been enjoying the process, but I think right now I've kind of gotten past like the fun part, let's say, so like Sleeve Island, they call it that for a reason. So there's nothing really interesting, it's just knitting in the round and finishing it up, which I do also enjoy. I love a good mindless knit, and I think that's probably the one thing that I actually love the most about knitting is just like the mindless working of it. But yeah, I'm kind of at the point where I'm just ready to have this done. I feel like it's been on my needles for a little too long, and I'm just really motivated to kind of crank it out in the next couple of days. So that will be my prioritized project going forward. I feel like I keep saying that this is my priority, and it has actually not turned into my priority. That's actually not been the case. I feel like it's been more on the back burner recently. I think each project has its season, so since this is going to go away to somebody else, I really need to get into gear, you know? But I'm really excited to go pick out buttons. I think that's something that I'm going to do this weekend. I'm going to pick out the perfect buttons for this and yeah, really get prepared to start yeah, finishing it up and being able to send it away. Yeah, I think that's it for the work in progress. yeah, so that's about it. Oh yeah, that is room temperature. So now we're getting into like the acquisitions portion, where I have a lot of things that I'm excited to show you this time. And the first one that I think I will show, I don't know why I was being so picky, but I'll just pick one. So I actually was gifted some really lovely skeins from Quail Studio, which is part of Rowan Yarns. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but Quail Studio I think is just like is one of the design teams that's a part of Rowan, because they design knits for the Rowan yarns. So I was gifted, these are just 2 skeins of like a whole set I was gifted of cotton cashmere. It's 85% cotton and 15% cashmere. It is recommended for 4mm needles and the approximate length is 125 meters. Really nice. So I was given this yarn as well as gifted the entire book of the designs for this collection. So it came with quite a few designs, and I actually over on Instagram shared a couple of these with you guys, and we all voted on what our favorite one was, which was really fun. Yeah, so here is just like a look at what all of the designs are, like the different options, but of course it's with different yarns. So I was given the cotton cashmere yarn, which I think works well with the sage and olive set, but I'm not really sure if it goes with any of the other ones, to be honest, because they have a whole bunch of different yarns that are recommended. And let me see if I can find that too. Oh, well, no, not really, but okay, here's just like a picture of what a bunch of the yarns look like. The team reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in testing out the yarn and also working on one of the designs from their collection. And I have to say, the one that really caught my eye at the very beginning was the sage and olive one. Yeah, it's this one right here, the sage and olive. And I mean, I think it looks super cozy. I think I asked them for the top. I don't think I would get around to the entire set, but I do really love the look of the entire set. I think it's very beautiful. But you know, the funny thing was I asked for the yarn that was in this picture. And it is cotton cashmere. There are 2 colors. I think it's like a lighter color and then this sage green color. But then this is what I received, and I really love it, but it doesn't look anything like the picture. So just keep that in mind if you're looking at it, because I don't know if the camera is picking it up the way that I'm seeing it, but maybe it's picking it up the way that the magazine shows it, but it's very like gray. I guess there is like a small hint of green in this, but really it's just gray throughout. So I still really love it. I think I love it almost even more than that green. So that's a plus for me, because I don't think I've ever purchased I don't think I have anything like this in my stash, and I don't think I've ever worked with anything like this color. So I'm really excited to potentially knit up that cardigan. I also might have just a look to see like other kind of designs that are out there for this yarn. I think I have 8 or 9 skeins of this, more or less. Probably 8. I think it's 8 skeins. So I have 8 skeins to work with for this. So that's like, what, 800 meters or so? Maybe, well, definitely more than 800 meters, maybe 1,000 meters, which could make a really nice sweater. It's definitely like a lightweight, obviously because it's cotton. Not as soft as you would think because of the cashmere, but still pretty soft, you know. I bet the fabric after being worked up is really nice, and I will knit a swatch eventually. I just don't want to be tempted with everything else that I have going on at the moment. I don't want to be tempted with more, with the swatch to actually want to cast on at the moment, and I will wait a little bit. But I would highly recommend you guys at least just check out Quail Studio, because I was really impressed with these designs in here. I thought it was really nice. The thing is, though, with this, and I really appreciate receiving this magazine, I think it's really beautiful, and I kind of just love flipping through it, to be honest. But I have never knit a pattern this way. So if you've purchased any of my patterns, you know that the way I write my patterns are very, like, I guess you could say thorough. I try my best to, they're complete sentences, let's just put it that way. And here, these are all, it's just gibberish. I showed this to my partner, my fiance, and I was just like, look at this, and he said it was basically like Chinese or something. So like it's a foreign language, we don't know like how to even read this kind of stuff. So yeah, with all of the acronyms and things, it's a little intimidating for someone like me who prefers to have just like the instructions written from like very detailed, you know? Yeah, like K1, YFWD, SL1, you know, geez. That'll be an adventure if I do decide to knit the wrap top, which I really like the design, so I'm thinking I will. Yes, so thank you so much to the team over at Quail Studio for sending that over to me. I always love to be able to test out new yarn, and like, I just think it's really beautiful, and I really loved this book. I almost just love this the most, just to like look through everything. I love a good magazine and like a coffee table book, you know? The next one is a very highly anticipated skein hank of yarn from me. This is by Woolly Mammoth Fiber Co. So Emma at Woolly Mammoth Fiber Co. She recently did a shop update, and let me tell you, the last time that she did a shop update before this one, I tried my best to get a skein of this stargazing colorway. I don't know what it is, I just think it's so beautiful. The purples are really like speaking to me at the moment because I just have been so attracted to purple yarn recently, this season in particular, and let me tell you, I put a reminder on my phone for the drop to get there right at the moment when she was selling this yarn. This was not even this time, but the time before when I wanted to get the skein originally. All I wanted was one skein, and I think I was 4 minutes late, and it was all sold out. By the time I had put it in my cart and went to go pay, it told me like, sorry, somebody else got it before you. And I was heartbroken, but then I saw that she was doing more stargazing for this recent shop update, so I was able to get it finally. I'm just so happy that she has so much support and has like such a successful shop, like a successful yarn drop, because I can't even be mad in that moment, you know? I mean, like with an independent, like small business owner like her, you know, I can't even be mad if it sells out within 4 minutes, you know? Like, I have to have all the respect in the world for that. I just got this in the mail a couple of days ago, and I've been resisting to open it up to see like how it looks in all of its glory, because I wanted to show you guys in this beautiful little hank right here. So yeah, I think we could just like open it up now. Oh my gosh. But just look at that. Like, look how pretty that is. It's so beautiful. And so what I was saying earlier about me not wanting to buy yarn without a project in mind, this is probably the one exception where I've just purchased yarn without thinking of what I wanted to do with it. And that's because it's just a work of art. So I really love it. I think it's so pretty. And yeah, I don't know what I want to knit with this, but just look how nice it is. Like these purples. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure she naturally dyes. Maybe not this, but she uses natural dye for other colorways. Because if this is natural, like, heck, I'm impressed. You know what I mean? So like, look how beautiful it is. She uses non-superwash yarn, and I can't really say, besides the natural yarn that I have for my natural dye projects, which are not nearly as high quality as what she can produce, this is the softest non-superwash yarn I think I've ever felt, because she really warns about that. Like, if you're not used to it, don't knit for like close next to skin. But honestly, I feel like this is really, it's not as soft It's just a little bit more rough than my Noro yarn, I think. And my Noro yarn is just slightly rough. And this is just slightly more rough than that. So yeah, again, I don't really know what I want to knit with this. I could just do socks. I would love some suggestions if you guys know what I should do with this yarn. I think it could be a really nice thing to hear from you guys about. Really happy, and if you haven't already, go check her out at Woolly Mammoth Fibers Company. Woolly Mammoth Fiber Company. She's based in the UK, by the way. Or no, she's based in Northern Ireland, I think. So I know I've gone on quite a bit, but there's still one last thing to show. And then I think that will wrap up this episode. But one more acquisition, one more very kind gift that I received. And this one's very special from We Are Knitters, actually. So We Are Knitters actually reached out to me a couple of weeks ago asking if I would be interested in trying out their yarn or one of their kits. And I took them up on the offer because I had been wanting to get into crochet. So that is where I was kind of thinking, like, you know, if I wanted to knit a kit, a knitting kit wouldn't really work for me because I feel like I don't require that kind of thing, but I do promote knitting kits 100% because that's how I really got into knitting again, because I originally started knitting when I was a little girl, but then, you know, picked it up like a year or two ago, like 2-3 years ago, and I started knitting with kits from We Are Knitters and Wool and the Gang. I'm not really in the stage where I would really need a knitting kit because I have needles, I have the darning needles, I have the knitting needles, I have a lot of yarn also, and while I really like their patterns too for knitting, I was more interested in trying out crochet. So I was really happy that they allowed me to pick out a crochet kit, which is this Bella Aurora tee. Oh my gosh, I think it's so beautiful. I think it was actually designed by an independent designer as part of like one of their like designers around the world collection, or like some kind of drop like that. And I'm obsessed with the way that this tank top looks. It is so cute. It's exactly my style. I would really love to knit a top like this, but I'm gonna try it in crochet form because I've been wanting to try. I've been very inspired by crochet tops recently, but I just don't know how to crochet. I find it to be very difficult. And I think that's always the case, right? If you're a knitter and you're really experienced in knitting, you find crochet to be very difficult, and vice versa. So we'll see how I go. Of course, I've tried crochet. I've never finished a crochet project, and it's never turned out the way that I've wanted at any stage of the crochet journey, let's say. So of course, the one project kit that I found was like an intermediate kit. So I think this is gonna be hard. So this is a kit to crochet a tee at a intermediate level. And I just wanted to go through and show you what all comes inside of this kit in case you are also interested. But I'm sure we're all We Are Knitter fans here. Let me just take everything out first. So I actually got it in this really nice khaki color. I don't know. I guess I'm in like a green kick a little bit. This green is really beautiful. It's a light, yeah, I really like this like light color, like khaki-ish green. I think it's gonna be nice and neutral. I was gonna go for the natural color, but I have worked with We Are Knitters natural cotton in the past, so I just wanted to change it up. While I do think that I would really like a white version of this top, I wanted to give this a try. I wanted to see something new from We Are Knitters, so like a new colorway, and I think this is really beautiful. I think I'll really like the way that it would turn out. Hopefully it will turn out exactly how the picture is, but no guarantees with that one, I think. But yeah, it's, you know, We Are Knitters cotton is just very like silky, very shiny. Actually, this is quite muted compared to the natural color that I remember, but very soft. I know it's gonna have a good drape. It has, because I've worked with it in the past, so. But other stuff that comes in the kit are, of course, these really cute stickers. I don't know if I'd put them on anything, to be honest. I like the I am a knitter one. Yeah, just like an extra little thing, and then it also has this tag. I have one already that I haven't put into any kind of top, but maybe I'll do it for this one because it is a We Are Knitters kit design. And of course, you get the darning needles, like the sewing needles. I got 2 of them actually, which is really nice. And I like how it comes in the packaging so you don't get it lost. And then finally, I get this crochet needle, which I haven't opened yet. Yeah, very nice. A nice wooden needle. I really like that. We Are Knitters on the side. Very cute. Yeah, okay, that's good. I don't know, do you guys recommend wooden? Is there like a difference? Because I know for knitting some people prefer wooden versus aluminum. Let me know if you guys have a preference there. And then of course the instructions are here as well. Very thorough, very large. Let me see the English, because it actually came in a couple of different languages for me. So let's see, slip stitch. I will be doing chain, slip stitch through the back loop, slip stitch through the front loop, short rows. Wait, does it tell you what kind of stitches though that are used? Because I wanted to tell you guys what they were so that you could tell me if I'm like in over my head or not. Garter stitch crochet. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll be doing garter stitch crochet. See, that's what I actually thought. When I saw this picture, I thought it was a knitting kit because it did look like garter stitch. But yeah, upon further inspection, definitely crochet, obviously. But yeah, I'm excited to get a new skill going, try something new, and of course I think I will plan on sharing my experience with you guys. I would really appreciate your tips on crochet. If you have any like crochet accounts that really explain how to do things nicely, I'm sure I can find it in a Google search, but I also just love hearing like what crochet accounts should I follow for tips on how to crochet better. So yeah, that should do it for me on this episode of my knitting podcast. I don't even know what episode it is. I don't even know if I'm gonna put episodes for these kind of things, but I really appreciate you guys being here and listening to me, as always, just droning on about something that I love, and I hope that you guys enjoyed hearing what I have to do, hearing what I'm working on for my latest knitting projects, my works in progress. I would be curious to know what you guys are knitting on, and I will see you next time.